What's poppin', everybody? It's Nepty. What are you guys doing? Floating around, looking weird, flapping your gills, not closing your eyelids? Why don't you blink? Anyway, I called upon Poseidra to summon the greatest water mines that I have access to, anyway. It's Terry and Mika. Yeah, I brought them both on, and we're having a good discussion on today's format, the new Spright Tearalaments mess that's going on. We're going to be talking about ways that you can combat these decks, ways you can prep against them, little tricks and whatever else. But before we get to the discussion, please, do your boy Nepty the favor. I want you to look down. You see that fucking like button? I want you to splash the shit out of it. And then I want you to swim on over to the buoy bell, which is usually to the right, and slap that bitch. That bell will let you know when I put out my brand new high quality Mermail content. I have a lot of plans for this channel. I ain't going anywhere. Now that you're down there, go ahead and click that link to the Discord. The Discord is filled with like-minded people who just love Mermails and everything about it. But with that all out of the way, let's get to that conversation with Teas and Pike. Terry and Mika, my bad. Slip of the tongue. Okay, so what do you guys want to cover first? We could throw in a little cheeky thing about Goaty. I don't really know about that deck. I don't plan on putting much of anything in my deck involving it, but Mika, what do you...
I like the synchro enough that I try to make it work, but we're getting more support, so I don't really want to comment properly until we get this new support coming out soon. Like, I know they're getting another monster and a spell, and the spell's apparently good, but if there's like another synchro which is like equally as good as the one we've already got, then like it might be worth talking about, but we don't know yet, so...
We don't need hot garbage.
No, basically. Yeah.
Please no more trash. Yeah, exactly. That's my biggest thing, and I gotta say this. That's my biggest gripe against like the Mermail community is they see anything with a water symbol and they're just like, how do I throw it in my deck? That just shows you we're all thirsty for help. You know what I mean? Like, we need everything we can get, but I don't know. They just look at...
Our biggest hope right now is the new revamped Atlantean structure deck that's going to be coming out in like a year and a half or so.
Yeah, hopefully. That's the goal here, is that they realized, like, Konami, man, you haven't made anything for Atlanteans in like 10 years, you know, or whatever it's been.
I mean, we had to wait 2-3 years for Breakers of Shadow.
Yeah, for Nepty. Yeah, exactly, because they're just like, this shit needs help.
But it was like the best legacy support I've seen most decks get in a very long time.
Right, yeah. No, I agree. So yeah, for the Goaty stuff, I guess we're just waiting to see if there's anything, but I'm not holding my breath for that shit, man. I really pretty much just want to cover the two main, you know, elephants in the room, the Tearalaments and the Sprights.
No, makes sense.
That'd be fine. Then like maybe work down.
Yeah, we'll start with the Sprites since they're going to be at full power first. They don't have the Ishizu stuff for the Tearalaments yet, so they're not going to be that big of a... Well, they're still going to be great, but they're just not in like God mode.
I think Tearalaments are going to be better than Sprites. I think honestly, like any deck is like slightly better than Sprite, in my opinion. Like Toad deck is just bad against us, in my opinion. It doesn't do enough.
Right. And that actually makes me think. So they have cards like, was it Sprite Starter? Now that one they activate in the draw phase. So you can't really do much to it, but if you look at certain, like, I don't run many hand traps, but I think one really, really good one is going to be something, like, so you look at the Sprite deck right now. Our biggest issue with it is not it. It's what it's going to get banned, which means they run a lot of the same shit we do. They run the same shit. So if you think about it, Winter Cherries, you already have the cards in your deck that you could use.
Preferably, I would just hit Gigantic Sprite because it's what lets them get to the Toad.
Right, it's like the gateway that gets them there. So, yeah, that's my thought. Was like the first hand trap I thought of was Ghost Reaper and Winter Cherries because I knew that name. I've literally never had that in my side deck ever, but this just makes sense because they play so many of the same extra deck monsters that we do. They got Hulk, they got Toad, Gigantic Spright, which I've seen a lot of people, even escrows, playing around with that. You can hit that as well, which is kind of cool. But what do you guys think?
Winter Cherries would be reasonably strong card to use against them, as far as like for going second. Generally, when I break down like the best cards to counter the best decks, I break it down in what's best going first, what's best going second,
Right.
and what's best going second. I would say that would be definitely up there because cards like Nibiru don't do anything.
Yeah.
No, they don't. Yeah.
Ash or Imperm. In my opinion, Imperm is like better than like a monster effect negate because they're more than likely going to go for Carrot because they don't want to get Ash on a Gigantic. So Imperm seems more constructive in that aspect.
Right.
Winter Cherries is good. I wouldn't say it doesn't like stop everything, but like hitting Gigantic is very, very strong.
Yeah, it's like taking a stop sign and slapping them in the face with it, you know? It's just, well, crap. Now I can go into Elf or something, but...
Other going second cards that are extremely effective that I have proved in testing are Forbidden Droplet. And you literally break everything that they have.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, I've played through Carrot, Toad, and then negating the Elf with the Droplet and the Carrot.
Yeah.
And equipment scale to the Megalo. They let it resolve, then they want to flip Smashers later on. That gets negated, and then they just get OTK'd.
Yep. Smashers. That's another card that people forget about. Shit's strong, man.
They only play one. It's searchable.
Yeah. And I think also Forbidden Chalice is super strong, going first or second. It's just Imperm. It's pretty much what it is, except there's no, you know, if you have a card on the field, you can't activate Imperm from the hand. Well, I mean, why does it matter? Just Chalice does the same shit. Just boom. And their monsters are so small, giving them 400 attack is like nothing.
I think what makes Imperm stand out compared to Chalice's format against that matchup is that it's harder to stop and it can be activated when they go first.
Yeah.
The problem with Chalice, I think, right now is that they put up exactly Toad like disruptions. So playing a card that they can't respond to is like very important in this format.
Yeah, no, you're right. Yeah.
Like Dark Ruler no more, Droplet just literally fucks them. Like if you resolve Dark Ruler, like it can basically be as if you're just playing through Smasher.
Yeah, I think Durnham or like Cherries with an Imperm, that is like your best bet if you're planning on like, you know, sideboard or hand trap tech. Like I'd agree with that.
Yeah. And also, so Dimensional Barrier, you just declare XZs and then they can't use Toad or Gigantic Blight. Or Spright, I should say. Gotta get used to saying that. That's easy clap. I mean, you probably already run that shit in your extra deck anyway, and I'm talking to my audience probably.
I'd say that's a little slow, but otherwise really effective.
Right? Yeah. Well,
like
exactly.
Game 1, you put it in game 2, and then like game 3, if you then win because of the D barrier, you're gonna have to take it out because you're getting second most likely, and then it's too late.
Right.
I have been testing going. I also meant to mention this for going second. Aria, the Water Charmer Gentle, has been extremely effective in that matchup.
Yes, that's the tech I wanted you to talk about. So I'll have it on the screen right now as Terry's mentioning it.
It requires 2 monsters, including a water monster, so it's like per se generic. So like you could like Toad something like late game or something, or like the combo where you link off into Mistar Boy. It's functionally the same exact thing. It's also got almost the same amount of attack as Mistar Boy normally.
Yeah.
Its effect is this card is always treated as familiar to this card. You can target 1 water monster in your opponent's graveyard, special summon it to a zone this card points to. So that's huge. Essentially, being able to what you can do is it's good going first, it's good going second, and the reason why I say that is after you Moon Glacia, rip 2 cards out of their hand. If one of the cards is Swap Frog, you can special summon their Swap Frog to your side of the field, dump your Swap Frog, use Reborn or any other extender like an enemy, bring back your swap, and then make a Toad using their Swap Frog. You can also bring back a Toad that they've already used to negate with.
Right.
While, like, say you dropleted Elf and everything, right? Like, just like turn off their board. You get Heavy Pop, they get something back, and then you can just Reborn the Toad that they have to play through. Like,
that's
it's just
so good.
Strong, taking a really strong weapon away from them. And also, it's the opposite of Mistar Boy for the second effect. If this links summon cards to Shore of Val, They're destroyed by opponent's card effect while it's honors monster zone. You can add one monster with 1500 less defense from your deck to your hand, which is basically everything in the deck except for Moon Glacier, TS, and
Yeah, which is crazy. Which means even in the wording, you can crash that shit.
you can basically crash and search Swap Rock and then make your own toad.
That's dope.
Like, it's really insane. I actually had a couple of matches where I played against Spright, and it did happen. Or even going first, I would summon their swap if I didn't have access to my own toad, and then it would literally give me access to toad.
Wow, that's so cool.
It was basically turned into a free win. Like, it was about up to that point. That's how strong it was.
Yeah.
Highly recommend it this format. It functionally does the same thing as Mistar Boy. I think it's a replacement for Mistar Boy this one.
Yeah. What do you think, Mika?
Yeah, no, I actually really like that idea, especially with like the Million Glacier like pitching game 1 or something like that. And again, like I do harp on about Minstrel, but if you know what they're handed and you see like the Swap Frog and then you know they're going to discard it or something, like I really like that idea. Yeah, I think that's a great idea.
Yeah.
I was going to mention lastly, in other matchups, it can come up, but obviously not as often.
Yeah.
Like you play against anything adventure and you don't want to commit resources into Trish or something. You can go into Crockett Dragon to draw 2 and then make this card and special summon their Water Enchantress back out of the graveyard so they can't access it after you hand loop them.
That's so crazy.
So you can do that, or use their Enchantress and the Charmer to link climb into Appaloosa. So that way you're like, hey, thanks for the free link material. Yeah,
like I'm a huge fan of using my opponent's shit to like make my stuff. I love that. Yeah, and obviously you guys know with the Goddess card, you guys already know how to do that shit. But so here's something I want you guys to think about. Now this is something I've been thinking about for a long time. Right now, you look at Sprites. They're Sprites. God damn it, Sprites. You look at what they do. You look at in their deck. They have cards that we run. Frog Package, Diva. If you're somebody who plays Nimbles in Mermails, then well, there you go. I think Crossout, even with the hand traps, Crossout Designator is so good versus Sprites. It's not even funny. That's just my opinion. You could shut down anything they put on the field, basically, besides like all the carrot and blue and all that other shit.
I personally think with Crossout, the best way to go about using Crossout this format is to hit engine cards, which is a lot stronger than hitting hand traps.
Right.
Because, especially in a deck that you don't want to play hand traps in, I think it'd be good to hit like Swap Frog or something. But
hit Diva or Frog.
Yeah, the Diva, the Frogs. Yeah, exactly. That's what I'm saying. It's cool.
I can't per se say it would be enough, but like it's something you could incorporate.
Right. Now, I thought about this tech, and I want to know what you guys think. This would not be any kind of interruption. This would be like basically on your turn following theirs. You guys know what Mannequin Cat is?
Yes.
Okay.
I know of it. I couldn't tell you what it is. Yeah,
all right. I'm going to go ahead and read it. It's just something I thought of today, and I was like, I used to use this. I would Gamma Seal people, and then I'd use this to get out Neptibus. All right, so Mannequin Cat is a level 2 XE monster. Once per turn, you can detach one material from this card, then target one monster in your opponent's graveyard. That's the cost. Special summon it to your opponent's field. So you do this to something like a Diva or a Nimble or some stupid shit like that. If a monster is special summoned to your opponent's field while you control this monster, except during the damage step, you can target one face-up monster your opponent controls, special summon one monster with the same type or attribute from your hand, deck, or graveyard. You can only use this effect once per turn. So you can bring out a Neptibus and just go off, or anything really, but it's just something I thought of. I don't know what the interaction will be. Plus, when you're dealing with Sprites, they might stop you in a bunch of different ways, but still, something cool I thought about, but just throwing it out there.
I think it would be like a funny way to get like to Dragoons when you have Halka Fibrax established during your opponent's turn.
Right.
Or like if Diva gets stopped, you could like Itsy for it. Like it's just one way.
Yeah, you can even bring out Swap Frog, and then as soon as it's brought out, then you can just send the Rodent Toad to the grave and whatever else.
Especially if you have a Kaiju. Yeah, like I said, like you mentioned.
Yeah.
If you play Gamma Seal, it's pretty good if you like main deck Kaiju's going second.
Right.
Especially like if you like Dark Lord and more. I mean, against like the Sprite matchup in particular, I think it would be decent. Or like, I really do wonder if they're actually playing this for the mirrors. I mean, it's debatable, right? But I think it'd be kind of funny if they are.
Right, I know they're playing like Cat Shark and shit like that, but I never heard anyone mention Mannequin Cat. It's just one of my little favorite cards.
The fact that it gives you a bit of choice as well, like the downside is quite slim, and if you do have the ability to make it, I think that's the only concern, is making sure you can make it like on a regular, meaningful basis. Otherwise, it seems really cool.
Right, and I think the only benefit to it is the fact that sometimes, yeah, you get a Diva, and you don't need another Neptibus because you already have one on the field or whatever. So you have a Diva in your hand. I don't know. It's just like gives purpose to a Diva, but I don't know. Just something to thought about. But if you have the Neptus on the field, obviously you wouldn't be searching a Neptibus, but you'd be bringing out like a Swap Frog and then going to Toad or something like that. So that's just some little cool tech. So what is the main one? Ghost Ogre on the Gigantic Spright.
Yes.
So
Ghost Ogre's really strong against that.
Can you use an infantry dump from Abyss Lacia during your opponent's turn to shut it off the same way?
You could do it on the summon of the Spright.
Right.
But
on the actual Spright, because it's a quick effect, I believe, once they go into the Gigantic, right?
Gigantic is not.
Oh, it's not.
Quick effect.
Oh,
No.
shit.
I mean, you sent in response to someone that basically is better than Ogre.
Yeah, good. Then boom, there you go. You can use Abyss Lacia, ditch your infantry, and then just pop that big bitch. So, pretty good. All right. Does anybody have anything to say about Sprites before we go on to Tearalaments?
Just a random observation with the area, actually, the water enchant, the water link 2 you mentioned, Terry. Like, I just realized that's actually kind of cool with Moray of Avarice if people do start playing that. Because you're banishing it as cost, which means, you know, once you've linked it away, it goes back in their grave, which, like, for a swap frog or turn, that kind of sucks. But if you can just be like, oh, I'll +2, that's actually kind of sick.
It does, yeah. I've been testing it with good results. A friend of mine's actually playing Spright at my locals, and I took his Toad from him. I took his Ronin Toad from him after hand ripping him, and it was just degenerate.
I was playing, which one was it? EDO? And that's where I play against the meta. Like, I always play against Sprites, Tearalaments right now while I'm playing that. And the best part about the Spright deck is you could just hand loop them like you normally do, and usually they just scoop. For the first time ever, I'm feeling about, like, siding out a Mooling Glacier. That breaks my heart to even say that. You know what I mean? It's rough. But
I will say, you know, the information Minstrel gives again. Like, I know I love information, like in Yu-Gi-Oh, but if you look at their hand and they've only got 1 or 2 Tearalaments, you can actually banish one of the Tearalaments, and then the Mooling Glacier is a lot safer. Like, I know that's a stretch, but
you also, in my opinion, in game 2, even though it can be a brick, there's times where, like, I personally chose to, like, not side out the Mooling Glacier, and for the simple reason, though, you literally just need a big monster, like, at times, to beat over things. Like, that's just part of the reason why I still play it.
Yeah, there's nothing like crashing over somebody with something you just summoned for free. Feels pretty good. I think the most obvious... So there's something that people don't know is, like, the field spell for Tearalaments. That is a pain in the ass. Anytime that they have a card that leaves or goes back into the deck, or is quote unquote shuffled into the deck, which I believe Konami means that just means put anything in the deck again, they get to pop something on the field.
If they can put back stuff on your turn, they can trigger it and pop.
Right. That's the problem with this deck, is they play so much on your turn. It's just endless. So going second versus this is going to be a little harder unless you have, like, Dark Ruler No More, whatever it is. But even when you send things to the graveyard, they're going to start popping off. But I think Dweller, that's the bad part about this meta, is that everything everyone else uses to stop Tearalaments affects Mermails. It kind of sucks. Like the fucking DD Crows, the Dweller, which is what I want to talk about next, is like Dweller's super easy for us to make, and it's super strong. I run Dweller. I've always ran Dweller in my main deck. I think you do too, Mika. Am I right?
Yes. Yeah, always. I love the card.
Yeah, it never fell out of favor in my mind. But it's just good alternative other than Bahamut. But yeah, I don't know. I mean, everything that people use to shut down that deck, like Ghost Bells and whatever else, it will have a effect on Mermails. Sadly, it will, but that's okay. Like, it's not the first time the meta hasn't really favored, us. Like, poor Marksman. Can't even run that card anymore. Breaks my heart. So sad.
I mean, popping a Book of Moon after firing a Minstrel against birds isn't too bad, but when's that going to come up?
Right, and I know it does. It has, but to justify it going in the deck when birds is not what you're gonna play even 30% of the time. It's just, I don't know, it's not worth putting them in there. But you know, the things just fall out of favor. And I think, yeah, the fact that you said Moulin Glacier, it's still worth just having a big ass body on board. I agree. Like, I think that's good, but it's kind of scary sometimes. There's nothing, you know, when I used to play against like Infernoid and shit like that and just Shadalls, it was not very fun dropping stuff into the graveyard, I'll tell you that much. But yeah, Dweller, super strong versus this deck. And we have a reliable way to get to it, so that's pretty good. They have to rely on Rhino Heart because I know they play it for the matchup, the mirror match. But yeah, any other spicy tech versus that? Because I do have, let's see, Kaijus. I think because for the Winda, they're gonna summon Winda a lot. So
yeah, Kaijus, right?
Kaijus are super good, and I don't really run sphere modes or any other shit like Lava Golem. I don't run that crap, but. Kaijus, I'll always have a place in my heart for Gamma Seal. That shit will always be in my side. Winda is a pain in the ass. I hate that card so much.
Winda is literally like our demise with like a bunch of other things too. Like a bunch of other decks, like any deck that can just spam Winda is just a problem for not really just our deck, but everyone.
Yeah, I think the only decks that don't have a problem with Winda are like stun decks. They just put out one monster and just like, okay, I'm done.
Beat over it with a Moon Mirror Shield. Good game.
So Kaijus is the one way, but pretty soon, I believe it's in, when does Darkwing Blast come out? You guys know when that comes out?
Darkwing Blast, I believe, comes out in October
the 10th, I believe. Yeah.
So in that, now I'm gonna go back. I'm gonna step back on my words here. I just criticized the Mermail community for wanting anything with water in its name to be put in their deck, but there is an archetype, the one that banishes the Catrila, forgot what it's called, but there's Catrila Ogre, which is a 2800 water monster that you can just summon straight from your hand if you control, I believe, nothing, or a water monster, I forgot. But that right there, you just summon that out, crash over the window, and just go on about your business. That is a really good card to look forward to coming out soon. And it's going to be one of the least favored of the Catrilas because the other ones just do so much. Yeah, the Ogre one, the biggest attack, and it's a water. So for fucking once, there's some kind of benefit. It has the worst effect, but it's a big body. So yeah, I'd use that, crash over the window, and just keep going. I don't think Tearalaments is going to go anywhere for a while because as soon as they get their Ishizu stuff, they're going to be popping off like crazy. And October is right around the corner, so I would be definitely keep my eye out for that card, just to have a card to just crash.
2800, pretty steep.
Yeah, it's pretty beefy lad.
It's pretty good.
Yeah. So
it's also another 7.
Right, and the effect too. You get to look at the top of their deck and then banish a card from the top of their deck and place it back in the same order. That's pretty dope. Like if you don't want them to have a card in the next turn or two, it's a little slow, but still, it's some kind of a banish, which is a badass.
I realistically think that card will be part of this deck if Toad gets banned. It will literally be Gaios Turbo. Gaios Dweller Turbo.
Oh, yeah. Yeah, Gaios. Yeah, exactly. That's just something I've had my eye on for a while. I thought I'd mention it, but yeah.
That's pretty good. Just poop out like double Gaios turn 1.
Yeah, double Gaios. Fuck yeah, how about it? But I think over everything, what do you guys think about like your staples, things like Triple T, stuff like that? Like, where do you think it has a place?
After the regional I played in last weekend, I would definitely say Triple T would be very, very good because this is a very hand trap heavy format.
Two or three of currently in the current format that we're seeing, it's not going to fire easily, and it's just it's too much utility to deny currently. We should definitely start considering playing it in our lists.
If you think about the fact that Mermails is a deck that you can wreck a board and then build your own, better than most decks, you can wreck a whole board and then build your own to replace it. As long as you have the one diva, you can crash over with Moulin Glacier, popping stuff with infantries, whatever else, and then build your own stuff. So I would say a card like Dark Ruler No More, is it main deck worthy?
I wouldn't say it's main deck worthy. I'd still say that Droplet is better. The reasoning for that is Droplet's good going first, and it's good going second because we're wired to go first.
Right.
And Droplet going second. If you open Droplet plus Diva against pretty much any deck this format, it's OTK good game. Even like if they don't have specific cash. So basically anything that targets like Imperm, or Chalice, Veiler, anything like that, it doesn't play around it. It's good game. If they literally do not have Ash. Yeah, that's basically, in my personal opinion, the best way to go about like breaking into this format. I do side Dark Ruler personally, because against like the Bird matchup, it's a card that doesn't lose to Dimension Shifter. I feel that you just need it because if they don't have D Shifter and you have the Dark Ruler plus the Droplet, and you can Dark Ruler, and then when they flip the trap to a bird play, you can then just fire the Droplet.
Right. Yeah, exactly.
That's just me.
Go ahead.
I'd say that Ruler's got a sideboard place currently. I know some of the players as well won't have the budget for triple Droplet as well, and if they don't, then Ruler is definitely a good choice for sideboard. But if we do have Droplet options to whoever is building their decks and whatnot, I would probably prioritize a Droplet. And that's me playing a deck that likes to discard a lot of cards, and Droplet's just that stupid that
Droplet can set up Avarice plays. It can do like so many dumb things. Like it can set up Moon Glacia.
Right.
There's just so many things it can do.
Yeah, it has great interactions with Toad. You steal their shit, then sacrifice their shit. Yeah, it's pretty cool. So, speaking on that, so hand traps. I gotta ask you this because I asked my community this, and I just wonder what your guys' take on. What do you guys? I know we're kind of biased because we're Mermail players, but your thoughts on Called By, whether it should be banned or not?
Very powerful card. It's been a powerful card for years. There's a reason why it went to 1. Literally on the, not sure if it was the second largest ban list we've ever had, but I think it's fine at 1. I mean, when there's like hand trap heavy formats, I think there needs to be a fine balance. Some people want it 3, but I personally disagree because then it just becomes way more stacky because like we have so many 1-card combos. So that just makes Call by the Grave like more powerful than it ever has been, because like Orcus format, it was 2-card combos. Generally, you just put 2 monsters on the field.
Right.
It was just a lot. Nowadays, it's just so much easier to like abuse cards like Call by. The game is just much faster. I think it should stay at 1.
Like, if I'm being biased, I want it like not banned, but genuinely, I wouldn't be surprised if they ban it outright. Like, I know it being at 1 is okay, and like being at 1 is fine. It is fine, but the fact is like the format has sped up more, so it's got like even more power than it did when it was at 3, and it was insane when it was at 3 in a slightly slower format. So like in our meta, I do feel like the card is like insane. Like I know it's great for Mermail players. If we did magically get 3, that it would like enable our deck so much, and like because of that I like the card, but it is very strong. It's insanely strong.
Right. And I always end up, so here's the problem again, is if you're a Mermail player who does not run hand traps, which I would say is a huge number of us, like probably the majority of people do not run hand traps just because of how they work against Fishborg, whatever else, but they want to see more water monster bodies, so they'll probably end up not running it. But the thing is, when we don't run hand traps, when your opponent has the Called By, they will always hit your Dragoons. They always do. At least the good players will, because they read cards. They hit the Dragoons. Yeah. They always hit it because there's nothing else they can hit with it. So it kind of screws us over. And I understand the logic. The argument is absolutely like things like Hulk and Called By, like they're good for combo decks. They're very, very good for combo decks to protect them and whatever else. But the problem with that is, yes, everyone else can use the same shit. Like all the good decks can run the same exact thing. And I think it just kind of streams towards the overall health of the game. The fact that we're in a meta that has so many damn hand traps, that is the problem. You know what I mean? So don't save the Called By. Try to address the hand traps. And I agree with that. That's actually a good logic to have, in my opinion.
That, like, Call by the Grave, just like, it's an absurdly powerful card. It is literally warped formats. Like everybody had to like play around the fact that Call by the Grave was in the format. Like, it literally just warped format.
Yeah, and it's a quick play spell. So that's why Called By is so broken in every way, is because of the fact it's a quick play. I think they need to start hitting hand traps. I really do. You know what I mean? I think you need to either put them to 2, put them to 1, whatever it is. But people running 15 hand traps, that's got to stop. But they're only doing that because of how crazy combo decks can go.
I mean, we could do the cross-out route, and I know a lot of Mermail players don't play hand traps, but playing 1 or like 2 with a cross-out, like if a hand trap starts to become dominant, that is always an option. Like, I think that's why cross-out was kind of born in a way.
Yeah.
Like, obviously, yeah, I don't play hand traps in my main at all at the moment.
Yeah, but Terry does. Terry absolutely does.
Consider that again. I have to reconsider again.
I negated Brand Fusion 4 times during the regional. Like, that's pretty freaking good. I Ghost Ogred and Fateful Adventure 6 times. Like, people were getting like their faces were just livid. Like, it was just ridiculous.
When you see their face morph to anger, it's so funny.
But the problem with like playing low amount hand traps is you either see them or you see all engine, like all gas, and that all gas might just get stopped by their plays at this point. Like, playing is just combo heavy Despia that has like 1-2 banishes, maybe a Chimera play, like that's it. Like,
right.
But, you know, nowadays we're playing against like multiple negates, and that's another story. But
right.
Yeah.
It's either you get negated by a hand filled with hand traps, or you have to look down the barrel of a board that has like 4 negates ready for you. So it's like, either way you look at it, it doesn't feel good. It just doesn't feel good today. But
I think that's why I prefer the droplet, the ruler, or the kaiju, though. Like, personally, just as like for my preference, not evaluate current meta, but in the past, like, I've always preferred a reactive response on my turn rather than the hand trap on theirs. But I do understand hand traps are dumb as fuck. So, like, you know.
Right. I wish they had a hand trap that would only activate when your opponent uses a card in their hand and activates it from hand. So it's like an anti-hand trap hand trap. I would love that. I'd run the shit out of that. Yeah.
And we got talents. That's the closest thing to it.
Yeah, exactly. I mean, you get something from. In fact, triple talents to me is just becoming more and more valuable because of the fact you can do what we always do: snipe out of their hand. We can take a monster, or we just get more shit, which is great. You know what I mean?
Entry, buff, change of heart that doesn't target, or pot of greed.
Yeah, it doesn't target people. It doesn't target. Triple talents tactics is becoming more and more valuable. And nowadays, man, hand traps, they're only getting worse. Every time they invent a hand trap, someone's like, I got 2 spots in my deck for it. They're not getting rid of anything. They're just adding.
Unfortunately, the hand trap counts in decks will not drop unless they hit the cards in like all the 1-card combos, like the meta has access to, like Spright Starter, etc. Like, because hand traps will just be dead cards if your opponent doesn't open anything. Yeah, you could just end up losing if they top deck something good.
Spright Starter is annoying because it happens in the draw phase, which is why like things like Ghost Winter Cherries or stuff like that is so good. But
it plays around Droll, so they can summon Jet and trigger Jet. It plays around cards like Droll and Logbur. Plays around Talents.
Yeah, that's the problem. It plays around everything. But I think there's still hope, and I think that'll do it. What do you guys think? Anything else? Any other thoughts on today's meta? I mean, what else is there to say? What we have? What's the other deck that we have that's out there with Mathmex? Okay.
I did want to mention like a couple of the still like in the meta per se, you know, matchups that we have to deal with, such as like Despia and Flunderies.
Yeah, please do.
At those decks. Let me start with Despia. For going first, interesting plays and/or text I've been working on. Obviously, there's the Dimensional Barrier. You know, you got Dimensional Barrier, you got things like that. But there's also other things that you can do against Despia.
Preach it, homie.
The hand looping is really, really important.
Oh yeah.
Obviously, the ability to go for Appaloosa is going to be like really important, but. I feel Despia is like one of the weirder things to play against because we do have to play through Mirror Jade.
Right.
An interesting play I'm actually working on testing, going second.
He's in the lab, everybody. He's in the lab. He's doing his research.
Yes, going second for when I side in like Dark Ruler and Amorous. If I don't open Droplet, I see Dark Ruler against Despia.
Yeah.
And I cut off access to, or like say they don't have access to Brand and Red because like Brand Fusion got Ash Blossom.
Mm-hmm.
I could Dark Ruler, like if they got like 2 fusions on board, like a Mirror Jade and like Masquerade. My play would be if you have Neptibus in hand with the Dark Ruler, a heavy infantry or any water, does not matter, literally breaks their entire board and rips their hand. You Dark Ruler, normal summon Prince, dump Dragoons, add Dragoons, trigger Dragoons, grab Lapis Dragon, special summon Lapis Dragon, Synchro 6 into Brio.
Brio?
Activate Brio, pitch the Dragoons and the other water to bounce both fusions back to the extra deck so they get no value. Trigger Dragoons, grab Seek Out, summon Seek Out. You have 5 waters.
Man, that's sick. So the man dropped Brio in our lap. How about I haven't seen that shit in like 7 years.
You can do the same bullshit with Diva as well. You normal Diva, they try to like banish or something. Like if you normal summon Diva, they trigger like Mirror Jade or they just let it go. You could literally just fire the droplets and the Diva, summon the Neptibus, and just do the full combo anyway.
That's so cool.
Because you know you're not going to kill them. You're not planning on killing them because
No.
you can't put out any damage. So why not just bounce all of the resources they use, like their entire hand, to like make that field, and they get no value.
Right.
Like
Bouncing
Mirror
it,
doesn't destroy. Albion doesn't get anything because I've had scenarios where like they have an established field, and I basically can't break it. I don't want to Regeki it. I don't want to crock pop everything.
Right.
So like there's that. It's also to mention if you open like a bunch of Atlanteans, you could trigger all of them and go for like Megalo and set up your own board with like Hulk. It's kind of insane. Or if you have like you pitch Neptibus for me and you have like a another Diva in hand, you could bounce their board and then normal the Diva, summon the Neptibus, and then use the Brio, the Diva, and the Neptibus to go straight into Croc a Dragon, draw 2, hope you draw into Avarice, draw into Swap Frog, literally the anything.
Right.
It's just something I'm on paper about right now. I haven't really tested it that much yet, but
dude,
it's like established board.
Yeah.
It breaks everything. Like,
damn, the professor is in the lab. I love it, man. I'm gonna start calling you the professor, man. That's just good. That's fantastic. What do you think, Mika?
Yeah, as I say, that sounds great. Especially the Brio and deny value. That sounds.
Because you're not going to kill them. You're just breaking their board like the best way. Because like destroying and banishing isn't good enough in this deck. You literally like against that matchup because they just want to get pluses off of leaving the board. But you put them back in the extra deck, they don't go off. That's why cards like Ultimate Slayer are like really good right now because you can do the same thing with Sword Soul in them. But the problem is when they put up like multiple fusions. Like, it's really, I think, the only card that can do it. But still, Ultimate Slayer is pretty good. Another problem, though, with Ultimate Slayer is you have to play a fusion in your extra deck. But I'm just thinking about testing it. But I'll let you guys know how it works out. You can do the same thing against Sword Soul. You can do it against Tearalaments. Bounce the everything.
Yeah.
They get no value. They use, like, their whole hand just to make that board.
Yep.
They get, like, no follow-up out of it. And you get like pluses off of your discards.
It's so good.
For some more techs against the meta, and also the most annoying matchups that everybody has to play against.
Oh no.
This is how you attack some of literally the cancer at your local region. You side in
the
Zombie World against Blunderies, so they cannot conduct a tribute summon, and they also cannot tribute set. Because the tribute setting has to be private knowledge known that it is a zombie monster, which they not legally do unless they have a zombie. So, not even the Plunderies of the Mysterious Winds outs this card.
That's
the crazy. The only downside is that you cannot make Totally Awesome with it. That's why you go first, make Toad, and then there you go. But you can also play this card going second when they try to flip the trap after, like, you say you Lightning Storm them. They wait to flip the trap until they're threatened, then you just fire Zombie World. Like, literally just Lightning Storm plus Zombie World, breaks their entire board, and says no more.
Right. So, I always hear that one, that Zombie World is like a really, really good tech versus that deck. And when they see it, man, do they hate it.
Funny thing is, against Spright, you stop them from establishing code.
Right, which
If
is
you go
amazing, yeah. Plus, it does nothing to us. It really does nothing.
No.
Besides our Toad plays, obviously, but yeah.
Yep. Also, you can side in Zombie World against Tri-Brigade, because they all have to have Beastware. I know this is more roguish, but, like,
Right.
Tri-Brigade is really a rough matchup for, like, a deck like ours, so, like, it's just really good. I unfortunately side in at the regional, didn't draw it, but, like, I've play tested it, and it's just insane. Other rogue matchups that we might struggle against that are just like aggro OTK, big play Benkei OTK based, literally dinos or something.
Yeah.
Beside that, it's good against like a lot of rogue. It's mainly in
Right,
there
it
for
really
rogue
is,
decks,
yeah.
but it also for like our worst matchup. Like you really couldn't ask more for it.
Does it affect Sword Soul at all, or does that not matter?
It affects them, but less, I would say.
Right.
Only a couple of their synchros require a worm, which
Right.
turns them all into zombies. So there's that. Long Wang requires a worm. So does Zhizhao.
Yeah,
basically
Zhizhou,
can't
yeah, that's the
blackout.
one. Yep.
So it's a pretty good way to stop them from searching them out to your floodgate.
That's not bad.
Yeah, it's decent. Also, if you have it face up, when they have Sword Soul Sacred Summit, they technically cannot target a worm in the graveyard. They're all zombies, so they can only target a Sword Soul. They can't special back continue with Sacred Summit.
So wait, so Zombie World affects the graveyard?
Yeah.
Oh
all
shit!
all monsters and in the graveyards become zombies.
Oh, that's crazy. I never actually cited that before, so I've read the card a million times. It didn't stick with me apparently, but that's cool. Oh, that's fucking awesome.
It also, if you have it established going first, they cannot legally activate Blackout because they have to target a worm and you control and 2 cards your opponent controls destroy them.
That's so good.
They basically can't use Blackout. They can't use Summit to target a Penny because they're all zombies. They can't make Zhizhou or Long Wang.
Yeah.
It's pretty good. Also, it turns off Tai unless they have a Sword Soul card in the graveyard. So if they don't have that, it's pretty much Tai does nothing.
Yeah, and I love cards that don't affect us, like Goes and Match. Yeah, that's the one.
Goes and Match is good against Sky Striker right now, like other rogue decks.
Right.
Yeah, basically things like that. But yeah, if those are just a couple ways for anyone to cope with rogue, because in my opinion, your side deck should be able to tackle anything that is meta, preferably, but also be able to handle rogue at the same time.
Yeah.
Know your matchups, not just your meta. Know your rogue matchups.
Yeah, definitely. Especially if you're like on a local level, know what the hell you're playing against in your locals, because you're gonna need to form your side deck versus your locals. And it doesn't matter what the meta is, but if they're not playing the meta, you got to look around. Like the first time I went to my locals, I looked at everybody's deck the week before. I went there and I was just watching people play, learning who plays what, and then I made my side from there. But yeah, I mean, you got to do a little bit of research if you want to conquer, you know what I mean? So
those are just some things I've been testing that have actually worked out in my favor really well. So I definitely suggest.
Cool. All right. Thank you guys so much for being here. And thank you for helping all the little water brains out there try to figure out a way to conquer the current meta, or at least do pretty well against it. Thank you, Mika. Thank you, Terry, for being here. This meant a lot to me, and it meant a lot to the community. So appreciate it, guys.
Yep, no problem.
Take it easy, guys. Yeah.
Those guys are always willing to jump on a call with me to discuss some stuff. I really appreciate them coming on, and I hope you guys enjoyed this video. If you did, please splash that like button. Then you can swim on over to that buoy bell. Give it a love tap. That bell will let you know when I put out my brand new high quality Mermail content. Until next time, boys. Bye.